Welcome to my ongoing experiment where I interview amazing people in Pro AV, people on a mission to elevate their corner of the industry and share those lessons learned with you. Today, I'm happy to be talking with Jay Myers. Jay is the founder of Interactive Solutions, a Pro AV Integrator in the Memphis area. Started in 1996, he built it into a $25 million company with over 50 employees in 7 cities. Uh, to, they've made Inc. magazine's list of the fastest growing companies 7 different times, been mentioned in the Wall Street Journal, and named Small Business of the Year by Memphis Business Journal. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Appreciate it, Jeremy. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, no problem. My pleasure. Super glad to have this opportunity to share you with the rest of the Pro AV community. So I'll get right into it. The place I always like to start is kind of at the beginning. Can you quickly give me a synopsis of how you started in the AV industry, and then also how you got to transition into launching ISI, your integration
Sure.
company?
Well, when I graduated college in the late 70s, 1978, I worked for major corporations for a number of years, Eastman Kodak, Hewlett Packard, people like that. And then in 1990, I interviewed for a job that was positioned to be like the chance of a lifetime to be a data products manager for a local, really regional telecom company. And part of my job that I ended up getting was to uh, promote and develop video conferencing for the business, because at that time the business was very focused on PBX switches and voicemails and all that kind of telecom stuff. And I knew nothing about telecom. I knew a little bit about data. So they brought me in, and it was a fun job, Jeremy, for 5 years. We grew that business. It was really neat to grow a business underneath the business with really no necessarily a risk, and having the opportunity to the pride of creating and building something. We went from $0 and or thereabouts in 1990 to when the end of 1995 we did I think it was like $4.5 million, almost $5 million, and I went from me, myself, and I in 1990 in the department to 20 people, and was a lot of fun until they decided on my 39th birthday to fire me.
Mm.
And so
That's a fair turnaround for growing a division from nothing.
it was the most humiliating experience I've ever been through. But, different from some entrepreneurs who had kind of had this vision and created things and so on and so forth, I wasn't a hero. I was forced into entrepreneurship and started my own business because I had just frankly got so burned out on working for other people. And then that experience of getting fired after I'd done a really good job, uh, that was the motivation and that I needed to get going. And we started the business in 1996 in March. We had some private investors. Didn't last very long. Had to get some other financing. Had a lot of problems the first year. I got a cancer diagnosis. We had an embezzlement. We had just everything happen.
Wow.
And at that point, it's funny. We're on a show about Pro AV. I had dabbled with AV as part of room integration with the other company. But it wasn't until I started ISI in 1996 that I realized, about a couple of years into it, we needed to sell more than just video conferencing to grow the business. And we started putting the resources together to do that. And it's been quite a run.
Wow. Wow. So, what had you considered yourself an entrepreneur previously, like throughout most of your life?
I would think that I probably had some of those instincts because I always worked hard everywhere I went, but I'd always speak my mind.
That never makes for a great employee. It might make for a good one, but yeah.
I think I was a darn good salesman, but I wasn't a good politician. And I just felt like hard work, put my head down to get the job done, and I didn't play games.
Mhm.
And I think that it was always in me to a degree. And then the job with the telecom company kind of reinforced that. I wasn't quote, an entrepreneur in those days. I was more of like an intrapreneur. So
Right.
And I can't tell you how important that was, Jeremy, that job to the creation of ISI, because had I not had that experience, I would have done this. It would never have happened. I had to have the knowledge of something that I was really passionate about at that point, video conferencing. And then, as you can well imagine, 5+ years of contacts with suppliers and various customers and vendors and everything. And so it was, I was somewhat prepared more than a lot of people when I started ISI and started my own business. So it wasn't like I was going into it not knowing anything about it. I knew a lot about video conferencing. I just wasn't 100% sure how we were going to take it and grow it. But
Okay.
AV, but the migration to AV was the key element. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk about what's happened recently, because there's been a fairly big shift in your business back in November of last year, 2018. Tell me what happened.
Yeah. So were approached summer of last year, 2018, about the potential selling the business, and got as I recall, a voicemail initially, and I hesitated about returning the call, Jeremy, because I had gotten a million of those calls through the years. I mean, at least half a dozen every year for 20+ years.
Oh, man.
I mean, no kidding. I mean, I'm not making up. I mean, some of them were just voicemail. Some of them were, a little deeper than that, whatever.
Yeah.
This call felt differently. And when they identified the fact that it was the largest company in the AV integration business, otherwise known as AVI-SPL, I was like, okay, the CEO wants
Probably serious. They've been doing it before. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the CEO wants to meet with you at Infocom and everything. And even then I was resistant, and I just said, I appreciate the thought. I said, but I'm not going to be there. I go to Infocom when it's on the East Coast, but I don't, in Orlando, but I don't do the Vegas stuff very much.
Yeah. I do
But I
the
said,
opposite, being on the West Coast. I only go to Vegas.
yeah. But Jeremy, so what I ended up doing was my son was going, Jordan, and I said, anything that discussion about any kind of acquisition has got to go through him. And it needs to include the fact that he needs to have a leadership role with whatever we do here, because I promised him that when he moved from Chicago back to Memphis several years ago.
Mm.
And let me digress and tell you, he wasn't ill prepared for what I was presenting to AVI. He'd been working in the business since he was in high school.
Okay.
And he's got his MBA. He's very bright. He was our top salesman in 2018, sold $6 million, for God's sake. So it wasn't a hard sell. And he's very poised and all. So we went through a process. Once the meeting at Infocom happened, and it was very positive, and we recognized, Jordan and I, that the cultures of the company seemed to have aligned, and the way we go to market and everything. And it went from there to, I'll tell you, Jeremy, probably the 5 of the most stressful months of my life, because we had constant emails, video calls. The due diligence process in an acquisition is, I could write another book about it. It's unbelievable. They turn you upside down, spin you around, tilt you. I mean, it's everything about the business. So I will say that AVI has been particularly impressive about being thorough. And so it was something that it was hard to get my head around initially, and still the emotion of this is my baby, this is my business and everything.
Sure.
And but it resulted in something, the good that we ended up closing on the business. Now, I'll digress and tell you a personal story. We had targeted to close on the business technically in the middle of October. And I told the folks at AVI, I said, I can't do that. I said, my daughter is getting married October 27th. And I said, I'm walking her down the aisle. She's my baby, and nothing's going to change that. I can't interrupt or do things in advance of that and get that into the wedding plan. So I said, after the wedding, we're fine. So check this out. So October 27th, I walk my daughter, my baby, down the aisle. So I give her away. 4 days later,
Gosh.
my other baby I let go of, which was my business.
Oh man.
Crazy, crazy. I would not recommend having a week like I.
No.
It really, really emotional, but all good.
Yeah. Oh. Oh my gosh. So what's your current role in the company? What are you doing these days?
Yeah, so I'm the business development manager. There's I don't know, a half a dozen of us around the country for AVI, and basically I see my role as just trying to stir up leads and make contacts for our sales team to sell stuff. I mean, really, also helping with like events. We recently, like last week, had a customer event that was based on some CIO panel and everything, discussion, and we had almost 100 people there, so we felt good about that. So we're kind of almost you could call it almost a PR angle on it, the job, but primarily it's to try to boost the sales around here.
Sure.
And we got some good stuff going on.
Awesome. Um, in as we were setting up for the call and talking about topics that interest you, you mentioned what you call above and beyond customer service. Why is that? What is it? How do you define it? And how has that, would you say, been a valuable business strategy that's led to a lot of repeat customers over the years?
Yeah, a lot of people say that above and beyond. Anywhere you go, that people are putting that on a sticker in their front window of their business or something like
Right. It's
that.
easy to pay lip service to, right?
We don't, yeah, we don't talk the talk, we walk the walk. And through the years, we have a reputation for going way above and beyond, whether it be, as an example, a school in East Tennessee that had to have classrooms installed during the Christmas holidays and condense probably a month's worth of work in less than 2 weeks,
No.
and work at all hours of the night. Some of my guys never slept and literally had to
Oh,
go get a cup of coffee and go back in. Now, this particular school in this location, we felt like, besides the business end of it, it was close to our heart because the school, these classrooms were relocated after the hurricane. And
mm,
so it was, really a great project, but it was exhausting. And Jeremy, we have done that for many years since 1996. It's funny about us. We don't really necessarily do everything pretty, but we get the job done. And the work ethic that is presented to our customers is the key reason for our success. It's nothing, overly dramatic, other than just old-fashioned hard work. When customer needs something in a crunch period of time, or weekend work, our guys we have a reputation literally for guys working all night long to get the job done. I
hmm.
mean, it's crazy, and sometimes multiple nights. So I can't, and I'm not going to recommend to all the other AV integrators out there that's the best way to do it. I'm just telling our story, and
Right, right,
it, it's what appeals to our customers. They recognize that, and I'm very proud of my team for the work that they've done.
right. And I would guess that that tends to result in late nights for your install crew, especially um, on a maybe fairly regular basis. How do you make it worth their while? How do you keep them motivated to put in that extra effort? Because a lot of companies expect the extra effort, but there's no carrot at the other end for the guys who are slaving away.
Well, we do a lot of things with recognition around here, and identify people that went, above and beyond in different projects. And we might give them a spiff of some nature, a gift card or what have you. But even more important than that, once they have put in that extra effort, we're very sensitive to providing the flex time or the extra vacation time for them to regroup. I mean, I've got people that have been working for me 5, 10, 15 years around here, and I put a lot of thought into, and I'm very sensitive to treating them the right way. And if they're going to put in those kind of hours, they've got to regroup at some point. and we're big on that. And again, we recognize them. We let the whole company know, and them in front of the whole group, what they had done, and recognize that, and reward them as much as we can.
Yeah, yeah. Praise in public. That's a good
Right.
thing. What kind of, as we transition to a different topic here, what is this is one of those curveballs I said I might throw you. What's something that people, maybe even people who know you, right? What's something that they would be surprised to know about you?
Well, there is something that is very surprising to people, that my favorite TV show is Walker, Texas Ranger. It's a 20-year-old show with Chuck Norris,
Oh
but
yeah,
I absolutely am addicted to that show, all the reruns and what have you. And I just get a very a big kick out of watching those shows, and people can't understand why I'm addicted to a show that hasn't been on since 2001. But I
Chuck
remind them
Norris, easy.
Chuck Norris can
Yeah,
kill people with his feet. So that's why I love the show.
if not just a toe. Yeah,
Or just a toe, yeah. So, but that would surprise a lot of people that I love an old show like that.
that's great. That's great. What a show to be a fan of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about challenges, right? Because nobody wants to hear the story of the person whose life seems all roses and nothing wrong seems to have happened, because we know it all happens in all of our lives. We just want to hear about it as humans. So talk to me about you mentioned this earlier in our call setup, but what's a challenge you faced, a particular challenge you faced in your professional career? I think I called it your favorite failure. How did you overcome it, and how would you advise other AV business owners on avoiding the same pitfall?
Well, we've had several challenges. That's why I
I
wrote
bet.
a couple of books. Yeah. And I think the easy answer to your question would be dealing with an embezzlement we had here several years ago, many years ago, 2003, $250,000, and put her in federal prison and all that kind of stuff. But
Hmm.
I think more currently in 2007, the biggest challenge for me was dealing with, in the business, 80% of my sales team leaving the company 1 week after the next within 30 days.
Huh.
At that same time, dealing with the death of an employee at one of our key installers, and
Wow.
also the death of a personal a friend. Went to funerals Saturday and Saturday,
Oh gosh.
and also dealt with a serious, potentially serious health issue with my wife.
Hmm.
It worked out, but it was all, everything was happening at once.
Yeah, it just kind of came crashing down.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that the challenge was, Jeremy, was to, to gather myself and figure out a way to move forward. And I will tell you, it wasn't an easy process. I can remember being so traumatized by all the events of that summer of 2007 that I
Hmm.
was afraid to turn the lights off in my bedroom. And you're
Hmm.
probably thinking, that's a little weird. Well, can you imagine, all the stuff that had happened? I was afraid of what the next day was going to look like. I was
Right.
afraid because the lights had been turned out for me, and I didn't know where I was going. But I think
Right.
the thing that was really very beneficial, I think, was one of the things that strengthened our company and all, was that after I stopped taking the problem of the turnover and everything so personally, and making all about me or I, when we transitioned to we, and it was
Hmm.
a group effort, we, my engineering department, the operations, say the sales team members that were still there, we developed a strategy to rebuild the business.
Hmm.
And one of the things we wanted to do, rather than going out and hiring industry veterans and the expense and all that, the baggage that comes along with that, we took a very calculated risk and hired young people, millennials, who had no experience in the industry. Uh, most of them had very little sales experience, but we presented an opportunity. We, we,
Hmm.
we, presented, we positioned the ISI like a cause. Join the cause and help us rebuild this company. And as I told them, I said, I'm not just trying to be dramatic, but as I told
Mm-hmm.
them, I said, this is a story you can tell your grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's see, in 2007, we did about $11 million,
Mm-hmm.
which, by the way, for all of your listeners, remember what 2007 also was, the start of the Great Recession.
Right, right.
4 years later, those young people, those millennials, took me from 11 to $25 million amidst the worst economy in 80 years.
So
So
you really kind of owe something to that millennial generation. No,
I do. I do. Absolutely.
no,
Well,
no
and believe me,
disrespect there.
no, not at all. And
Yeah,
I could give your listeners a lot of tips about motivating millennials, but at the top of the list is just respect them, because life hasn't been easy for them either. They went through 9/11, they went through the Great Recession.
right.
Life has been uncertain and some difficult things. And for me also, besides respect them, you got to tap into their technological expertise, and because they're young people today are far more technical than they were when I graduated from college. And so you tap into that aptitude,
Yep.
present an opportunity, and train them, support them, praise them, manage them, and it's really worked out well. And I think if you just understand that, you can't do it old school. I think that hey, I'm a baby boomer. I get it, but that the tactics and the strategies that worked to motivate me in the late '70s will not work today, and
Mm-hmm.
they didn't work with
Sure.
that group of people. But yeah, I think it's worked out really well. We took a risk, no doubt about it, Jeremy, but it worked out well.
No, that's great. That's great. Did I just out of curiosity, I was thinking as you were talking, did you happen to any of those millennials that were hired for technical roles? Did you specifically look for since you knew they weren't going to really have any AV background? Did you look specifically for network experience, um, at least at least through schooling for any of those that you hired in technical positions?
Somewhat so, yes. I mean, if there was something complementary or related to, if they had been doing anything like residential AV or something, or even low voltage wire, something that related to what we do, we certainly we embrace those folks as an opportunity to hire them and everything. The
Right.
sales team, the sales team is really kind of a funnier story, because the sales team, other than one of our guys who did a lot of like video recording at the University of Tennessee and knew all the kind of cameras and all the things to deal with there, but had really no AV integration background.
Hmm.
He was the closest thing I had to somebody that had technology experience. I mean, the other sales team members, one guy sold specialty advertising, one guy sold air freight, and another guy used to repo cars.
Oh
So
man.
he was excited to have a job where people weren't yelling at him and hanging up and all that. So
I
it was an
bet.
unlikely. It was an unlikely. It reminded me kind of like the Dirty Dozen, the old movie, and
Yeah.
with all these dissimilar people. But man, I tell you what, it was a great team.
Hmm. That's cool. That's cool. Um, so I want to talk a little bit about software and let's kind of take it from the vantage point of where you guys were at ISI before the acquisition. Um, there's two schools of thought with software, right? There's software that you install on your computer, right? Sort of the on-premise um, model, and then there's SaaS. There's cloud-based computing. Um, Obviously, the pendulum is swinging more and more the way of cloud-based software. What did you guys use at ISI? How did you kind of leverage that transition to cloud-based software? What kind of systems did you start using over the years that were cloud-based?
Well, one of them is what we're doing this morning, Jeremy, which is Zoom. I
Yeah.
mean, once we saw the quality of the product and recognized that we're going to have to change kind of the way we're doing business, in the sense of not selling the expensive Cisco codecs and all the
Hmm.
network connectivity with that and all, we embraced it, and we have for several years really been promoting Zoom uh, and creating a business opportunity where a lot of people look at cloud-based and go, God, where's the money? I mean, it's subscription. You make $10 a month for the rest of your life or something. That's one way of looking at it. But on the other hand, when you look at a product like a software-based and a cloud-based in particular, like with Zoom, you don't have people that are buying one Zoom room.
No.
They're buying many, many more than they ever would have of the integrated Cisco type room. So
exactly, because it allows them to deploy in greater quantities because the cost is lower.
Absolutely. So, you're adding cameras, you're putting in displays, your microphones, you're adding value. You're just not selling this one codec and everything. But again, the orders in the past for 2 or 3, now we're getting orders for 20 or 30 rooms. So
right.
It's very positive.
Now, how about software you use to actually run the business? Now, I know we can use Zoom in business settings to have meetings and whatnot, but let's say maybe just running the back end of the business. What did you guys use in terms of SaaS?
Yeah, before I answer that, let me also add to the cloud-based and some of the other
Uh-huh.
product. We are an early adopter of Pexip and
Okay.
Akana. So because of our video conferencing expertise and embedded base and everything, we have also embraced those. Still doing a little bit of Pexip to these days. Of course, Akana got sold to Cisco, so that kind of ended that thing, at least from that level. But yeah, in terms of what has run the business at ISI through the years, man, we're not exactly cutting edge. I mean, we've had QuickBooks Enterprise around here for years. And we added to that, it's on-prem, obviously, through Intuit or whoever, but then also we added a kind of a custom type product called QuickBase that allows us to track our projects and sort of a repository for a lot of the information that, whether it be the operations management, the project manager, whoever can go to pull things off of, and also the ordering process as well. So QuickBase was built around our business, and it is a derivative of QuickBooks, but it's not one that they advertise a lot.
Okay.
It's kind of a customized product.
Okay. Is it by the same company? By Intuit?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Essentially, yeah, but we had to bring in somebody to kind of integrate
Customize it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. What software have you seen AVI-SPL have that is either in that cloud-based model, or just in some other aspect that you've seen kind of improves or makes easier the processes you were doing before, whether it's a quoting system or whatever.
Yeah. There's you may have heard from other AVI people, this Beaker system, and it's basically a CRM where in the past we didn't have a CRM. I mean, we had files and notes and all this kind of crazy stuff and Excel spreadsheets or what have you. So
yeah,
AVI is a real big value of the company, and being a bigger enterprise, the salespeople can all go into Beaker and put their quotes in there, put their forecast, pull their customer information. It's a very nice repository for that kind of information and people to draw off of.
And they can also build their quotes in there, their proposals, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Beaker is it's like an acronym, right? BE.
It is, and I couldn't tell you exactly what it stands for, but it is an important part of the day-to-day here at AVI.
Is that a custom software they built from the ground up, or is that something they've like an off-the-shelf product?
Yeah, Jeremy, I'm not 100% sure. I want to say that it had some level of customization about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know that they've looked at some other enterprise software. Let's leave the names out of it. That some of the bigger players out there that
sure
really ended up not being a good fit, and they had to pull the plug on. I mean, we as I told them when they were kind of relating the story, their executive team, I said, look, I've had the same thing happen. Mistakes are costly, but sometimes you just have to cut your losses and move on. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah.
So back up a little bit to the time when you were at Integrated Solutions at ISI. Did you ever experience situations where installers were sent out on a job, day one, only to find that they didn't have all the parts they needed because all the parts that they needed weren't necessarily ordered?
Oh, we've had that a number of times. By the way, the company's Interactive Solutions.
Interactive Solutions, sorry.
That's fine. We've had that happen a number of times, Jeremy, and what we have tried to do to address that issue is twofold. We have embraced a process of pre-integration to bring the products here to this office, and we have a build room that we try to, as much as we can, test every product that's going to go into an install as much as we can before it goes to the customer site. But also we have all the parts that we need, and try to not make the logistics an issue for the customer. I'm not telling you it's a perfect process, but it has had some nice results when we've been able to do it.
Gotcha. So obviously there's I kind of categorize products in two buckets. You've got your main building block products, right? Your audio DSP, your video switcher, displays, sources, things like that. Maybe transmitters, receivers, and then you've got sort of the accessories, right? The hinge pieces, the pieces that go in and support those major building blocks that allow you to connect them or mount them or power them up, right? Because we all know not everything comes with the power supply it needs,
Right.
because of the custom nature of what we're ordering, and from so many
Right.
different brands, it's hard to keep straight what comes in the box and what we need to order for our particular application. When stuff is when you realize stuff has been missing, like not ordered, like left off the BOM in projects, which of those two product categories has it been? Has it been like major products, or has it been sort of those hinge pieces, those accessories?
Most of the time it's been hinge pieces, those little pieces that you just oops kind of thing.
Yeah.
One of the things we try to do, and we have done, and it's painful, Jeremy, is to, when we see something that should have been on that design or that system and it's not there, many times we've eaten the cost of bringing it in and putting it and installing it. We don't want our mistake to become a customer issue.
Right.
So,
Right.
and then, other times some just innocent, missteps where a supplier promised a 2-week turnaround on a delivery and maybe to the site and whatever, and it's not there because it got tied up in customs or something. I don't know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, again, our mentality, our brand out is always to take care of the customer above and beyond, always do more than expected, and not make it as smooth of a process as possible. And part of that process being a smooth process is never, there used to be an old expression, I think it was on TV or whatever, never let them see a sweat. We don't want any of our people our customers see a sweat over some details that were out of their control, and yet we don't want them to negatively impact them. That's why we have, frankly, almost a 90% year-over-year repeat customer base, because we do the things to get the job done. And by the way, AVI, that's one of the things, the culture is aligning everything, and the decision about the acquisition was AVI also has 89, 90% of the business comes from repeat customers.
That's excellent. That says volumes right there. So this has been a lot of fun, Jay. I've had a good time getting to know you and kind of lobbing you these questions today. If people want to connect with you, where are some of the best places to do that?
Well, the email address is jay.myers, myers, at AVI-SPL.com.
Okay.
I've also written a couple of books. One of them is called Keep Swinging. The other one is called Hitting the Curveballs. They're motivational books about overcoming adversity, appeal a lot to entrepreneurs and small business owners, or people that are just looking to get a little motivation, maybe a little inspiration when they're having a bad day, week, month, year, whatever.
Right.
And those books can be found on Amazon. And gosh, I mean, even the second book, Hitting the Curveballs, you can actually get an iTunes, an Audible, and the print version. And then I also have a website, jmyersceo.com. It's got everything on it. So anybody with all those places. And in terms of a Twitter handle, it's at JB Myers.
Okay.
So if that can help people, and I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram. I'm pretty.
You're pretty connected.
Pretty connected on social media.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Kudos to you. That's great. All right. Well, very cool. And then as we kind of wrap up here, there was one resource you had mentioned that you think would be helpful for the listeners. It was an article you wrote that has that lists some resources and some strategies in it.
Yeah, in System Contractor News, I think it was the February or maybe March edition, I'm not sure, or issue. The title of the article it was in the Viewpoint section of the magazine, which is at the very end.
Uh-huh.
It was titled "Letting My Baby Go," and it kind of told the story about the acquisition and the emotional side of dealing with which it has been very, as I told you, very emotional with.
Yeah.
Walking my daughter down the aisle one day and 4 days later selling the business. But I've also written other articles that I think your listeners may enjoy through the years. If you just type my name, System Contractor News articles, I can picture other ones, Knowing Your Brand, The Challenge of Succession Planning, Make Deals, Not War.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a number of them out there that I just try to, hey, Jeremy, I'm not the technical wizard out there. I just like to write and communicate things from my heart and experiences that have been around here.
Sure.
That I think can help other Pro AV firms out there, or any other people that are in small business that are looking for some tips about how to get through stuff.
Absolutely, and we'll link to a couple of those articles in the show notes for anyone who's listening, so you don't have to look for it. Makes it easy. All right. Well, thank you very much, Jay. It's been great having you on, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Appreciate it, Jeremy. Thank you.
All right. Bye.